Hello, friendos and bendos. It's me, Z, and I absolutely adore Ben 10. The franchise has been with me for as long as I can remember. Some of my earliest memories are of me leaning back and chillaxing on the couch while one of the various iterations played on TV. It's one of my favorite franchises of all time, and a big part of that is the dynamic between Ben and his friends against their enemies. Ben 10 has some awesome foes, and I want to highlight the ones I think don't get as much love as they should. Sure, we all love Vilgax and Ziscare and whenever Kevin goes bad, but there are villains beyond these guys, and I want to talk about them. Both the underrated villains that more people should appreciate, and the underused villains who don't get enough spotlight in the first place. So, let's talk about them. And the first villain that comes to mind when I think underrated is immediately Dr. Aloysius J. Animo. Like, people really don't give this man his due diligence as a powerful hater. He is the main villain of the second ever episode and has tormented Ben ever since, in every iteration of the show. He is a constant presence in the franchise. Like, you can rest easy knowing that as long as there's a Ben 10, then there's gonna be a Dr. Animo. And why wouldn't he be there? Dr. Animo is incredibly fun. His mad scientist personality and voice make him hilarious to watch, while his gimmick allows him to be incredibly interesting in tons of plot scenarios. The power to mutate and manipulate animals is incredibly cool, and allows for near limitless potential for fights. Sometimes he's using all the pets in the store, other times he's reviving dinosaurs. In Alien Force, he even becomes king of the Null Void, because the Null Guardians are still technically animals. And not to mention the fact that, in my opinion, Dr. Animo is the main villain of some of the most rewatchable and even iconic episodes in the series. His debut episode of Washington, B.C. is a classic, but Dr. Animo and the Mutant Ray is also so memorable for all the different alien hybrids. I also really like the Eggman Cometh. The idea of him manipulating chicken eggs to birth dinosaurs was genius, and the man is genius. The episode that, in my opinion, showcases this the best also just happens to be one of my fave episodes of the franchise period. Divided We Stand is a great episode, and showcases Animo's craftiness as he has seagulls deliver him his mutation device piece by piece in prison. Not only does he do that, but later in the episode, he's able to manipulate Omnitrix DNA to create stinkfly ditto hybrids, which is kind of insane if you think about it. If Dr. Animo wasn't such a goofball, he'd honestly be a huge threat, though I'm okay with that since him being a goofball is part of his charm. We got more serious Animo in Voided, and while he was scary, that was also, in my opinion, his weakest episode as main villain. But even Animo's weakest episodes are still gold. He is 100% iconic and deserves his flowers. Now, the next underrated villain has got to be Siphon. In UAF, he starts off as Vilgax's sniffling underling, but after Vilgax's defeat at the end of Ultimate Alien, Omniverse decides to give him an amazing change-up. Now he's a mob boss in Undertown, with cybernetic enhancements, trying to essentially become the kind of intimidating force he thought Vilgax was. He's in a lot of really good episodes, from The More Things Change Part 2, to Outbreak, Special Delivery, and in each one, he's such a great character because, in my opinion, you kinda want to root for the guy. You look at the UAF era, and you realize Siphon probably leads a pretty sad life to spend it all glazing Vilgax the way he does, especially with the way Vilgax treats him. I'm reminded of the opening to the Vilgax Attacks video game, and how genuinely infuriating it must be to work for Mr. Calamari.
Cypher, go manage the ground battle.
Already on my way, sir.
Cypher, take some backup with you.
Done, sir.
And Cypher, one more thing while you're down there. Bring me the head of Ben Tennyson.
Dude, please shut up for once in your life. And what makes it better is that Siphon is still obsessed with Vilgax. Episodes like Vengeance is Mine and Mud is Thicker Than Water have him groveling and begging whenever he thinks Vilgax is actually returned. You really feel for the guy even if he's a total dickhead, and I honestly do want to see his crime lord endeavors flourish, so he's not so held back by his clear PTSD. The man wants to be a world-ending type of threat, and I can't help but want to see that happen. Moving on, let's look at some villains who are both underrated and underused. And the one that comes to mind in this category for me is Rojo. Now, Rojo isn't actually all that interesting of a character, but her debut episode and peak as hell character design has always made her extremely memorable to me. And is there anything particularly wrong with wanting to see a villain used more, just because you find them neat? It's honestly really disappointing she's in so little episodes because, as a bounty hunter, she could be used so much more, Ben 10 is filled with bounty hunter characters, and I'd much rather have her over someone like boring ass Sunder. No, seriously, who gives a shit about Sunder? Anyway, moving on, a group of characters that we honestly might have saw more of if Omniverse lasted the length of episodes it should have, are all the evil alternate Bens we're introduced to, in the end there were none two-parter. We did get a really good two-parter surrounding Mad Ben's world, but I would have loved to see several two-parters to look at Bad Ben, Bizarro, and even Musically Ben, and see their worlds and backstories. It sucks that Ben 10 Omniverse didn't get to actually explore the whole, Omniverse idea as much as it could have. Seeing all these different universes and how Ben turned out in each of them would have been so cool. But now that it's over, I guess you have to just appreciate what you got. Except for the fact that we got so many episodes about motherfucking Simeon.